Want to speak real English from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at EnglishClass101.com.
Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. Today I'm going to talk about how to use the word almost. I'm going to show a few different example sentences and give you a couple pointers, some things to watch out for when you're using this word. So first, let's look at the meaning of the word almost. So almost is an adverb. It's a word that means nearly or not quite or not completely. It can also mean similar to something but not exactly like something. So I've got a lot of example sentences here that I hope to talk about to kind of explain the use of almost. Before I do that though, I want to mention this point over here. Almost comes before the word it modifies. So modifies means like almost is attached. You can think of it as being attached to another word and almost changes the meaning of that word. So using almost before another word or before another phrase adds this meaning of nearly or not quite or not completely to that word or to that phrase. So let's begin with that and look at a few examples. I almost forgot my homework. So here almost comes before the verb forgot in this case, meaning I nearly forgot my homework. So the word almost, like I said, almost should come before the word it modifies. So here it's modifying the word forgot. So I nearly forgot my homework. I was very close to forgetting my homework. Another example, he almost always calls on his way home. So here it comes before the word always in this case. Almost always, meaning maybe like 95% of the time or 90% of the time. So not always, but nearly, very nearly always calls on his way home is the meaning of this sentence. Okay, let's look at another one, maybe an opposite meaning here. They almost never leave the house. So here we've got never as the word that almost is modifying. So almost never means you can think of it in terms of a percentage, for example, like 5% of the time they leave the house. Very, very close to zero, but not quite zero. So almost never, not quite never, but very near to never. The next one, you're almost finished. You're almost finished. So here almost is modifying the word finished. So in other words, you're nearly finished in this case. Maybe you're nearly finished with your job for the day, or you're nearly finished with your homework, for example. You're almost finished is the meaning here. Let's look at the next sentence then. So the next sentence is we're almost home. We're almost home. In this case, almost is modifying the word home. Home, in this case, means at your place of residence. So to be in a status of being at your place, yeah, your dwelling, at your residence. So to be almost home means nearly at your house, in other words. So we can modify in this way. Similar to this negative I used up here with never, we've got there's almost nothing left in the refrigerator. So again, almost nothing in this case. So very nearly no things, very nearly maybe nothing to eat or no food in the refrigerator. So this sentence means there's something in the refrigerator, a few things maybe, but almost nothing. So very little of something. Okay, the next sentence shows another point that I want to make about the placement of the word almost. I mentioned in these initial example sentences that the word almost comes before the word it modifies, as we've seen so far. However, when you're using the verb to be and the variations of it, like was and were, for example, almost comes after that verb. So let's look at an example of that. Here I have, he was almost fired from his job. So here's my to be verb, in this case using was. He was almost fired from his job. So here, almost follows the verb to be. This is a slight change. I'll show you one more example sentence later. So again, let's go back to this first pattern. Almost no one came to her party. So here, almost begins the sentence. It's modifying the word no one. Almost no one came to her party. So meaning very few people came to her party. Lastly, let's look at one more to be example. Here, I was almost late for the movie. So again, here's our to be verb, I was, and almost follows that to be verb. I was almost late for the movie. Okay, so these are quite a few examples of how we can use almost. I want to talk a little bit about some other ways to use almost. We use almost with time and quantity expressions. So in these cases, we use the word almost before the time or before the quantity. Let's look at some examples. For example, we've been waiting almost 2 hours. So here, 2 hours is a length of time. We use almost before that, so nearly 2 hours. Not quite 2 hours, but nearly 2 hours. The next example, I've lived here for almost 5 years. So that doesn't mean 5 years exactly, but very nearly 5 years. Same thing here. He said there were almost 5,000 people. So almost 5,000, not quite, maybe like 4,900, for example. Very nearly 5,000. Again, the recipe made almost 200 cookies. So again, not quite is the meaning here. So all of these kind of, we use this when it's easier to round up, to use like the next easily recognizable number. Like it might sound strange in the last example to say the recipe made 498 cookies. It sounds very, very specific, and it also sounds like maybe the speaker counted each individual cookie. So sometimes that's really not reasonable, or it might just sound a little bit strange. So, or also it's just sometimes not possible to count exactly how many people or how many of something were in a situation. But using almost, we can make a guess sometimes. So this is quite a useful thing for time and quantity expressions. Okay, so as we've seen so far in this lesson, we can use always with words like always and never. I used it over here. For example, he almost always and they almost never. So just keep in mind that these have very, very different meanings, kind of opposite meanings. So I almost always means very nearly always, and almost never means very nearly never, but not quite. Same thing with all or nothing or no. So I used an example here. There's almost nothing, for example. So here, it means very close to zero. If I used almost all, like almost all the people were happy, it means very nearly everybody as well. So you can kind of see a pattern here, and the same one is we can see here at the end, everyone and no one. It's like extreme, so like 100% versus 0% of something. So all or nothing, everyone or no one. We can use almost to show that we are very near to these levels, but not quite at these levels. The last thing I want to mention in this lesson is a word of caution. Just be careful about where you place almost in a sentence, because it can really affect the meaning of the sentence. So here, let's look at two very similar sentences. 1, he almost told his boss all the secrets. And 2, he told his boss almost all the secrets. These are very different sentences, but they seem very similar. Here, I've used almost before the verb told. So almost is modifying the word told here. He almost told his boss all the secrets, meaning he very nearly told his boss all the secrets, but he did not. He did not. So here, almost modifies this verb, told, meaning the action itself. He almost did this action, but he did not do the action. In this sentence, however, he told his boss almost all the secrets. Almost, because of its positioning, is modifying the word all. He told his boss almost all the secrets, meaning he told his boss very nearly everything, all of the secrets. So maybe like 95%, 90 to 95% of the secrets he told his boss. So the action happened. He did tell his boss, but he didn't tell everything in this case. So please keep this in mind. Your placement, the place in the sentence where you use the word almost, can create very, very different meanings. So remember this point here. Almost should come before the word it modifies. So when you're writing and when you're speaking, you should think carefully about this. Also remember, when you're using the verb to be, almost should come after that verb. Finally, when you're speaking, as I am right now, we do have the ability to use our voices. We can emphasize key words. We can stress them with our voices to make it clear which word we want to emphasize. However, we can't really do that in writing. So it's really important to consider, to think about where we place the word almost when we're writing. So I hope that this lesson was useful for you. If you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to let us know in the comment section below this video. If you liked the video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and check us out at EnglishClass101.com. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.